Just another absolutely brutal loss for the Kings. Another close game that they lose, another game at home that they lose. But, it hurts less when you just expect it. When you just expect the team to find a way to lose. And obviously this is a game where the officiating was horrible all game, and we know what happened at the end where it should have been Kings ball. It goes off to Lakers, and somehow it's still Lakers ball. And the Kings don't have a challenge because they had to use them on two other things. But the reason why that doesn't even affect me all that much is because, well, what would have happened had the Kings gotten calls all game long, right? Had the officials not been horrible, the Kings still would have found a way to lose, right? So it's like you can use the officiating as an excuse when you take care of business when the officials don't screw you. But when the officials, call a horrible out of bounds call, and then you foul, a really dumb foul by Monk, and then he misses both free throws. It's like you got bailed out, right? I mean, or not bailed out, the refs really got bailed out, only for the Kings to not come out with the rebound because both Lyles and Keegan didn't go for the rebound. They both boxed out Shooter. So then you have Rui pushing on, Sabonis underneath. That's when the guy from behind comes in and gets the rebound, and no one was coming in to rebound. So the Kings just continue to find ways to lose. And that's been the story this season. They find ways to lose close games. 2 seasons ago, the Beam Team season, it was the opposite. The Kings found ways to win every night. New ways to win. Somehow they just kept coming up with wins. Last season, maybe it was a bit of a mix. And then this season, it's been finding a way to lose, whether it's not getting a rebound on a free throw, turnovers, leaving guys wide open inside, or maybe your defense steps up, but then, your offense goes completely cold and you don't run any offense. Every game, it feels like it's something new with this team. And these last 2 games against the Lakers have felt so eerily similar, where it feels like there's no life left in this team. Sometimes you get those vibes, right? And the vibes with the Kings are so down, and so it's really hard to imagine a scenario where they come out of this just because of the feel. Because if the Kings had even won this game, I'm not sure it would have felt even all that different. There's just not hope with this team right now, and it was another game where the Kings came out and they came out slow, and they came out with the same mistakes. They, in the first minute or so of the game, they allow an offensive rebound, they turn the ball over, they can't throw an entry pass into the post. Like it felt like the same game as the last game against the Lakers. And so I think for me, that's the thing that makes it seem like this team is kind of dead right now. When, just like I talked about last game, when you have your coaching staff emphasizing one particular thing, and then you come out and immediately don't do that thing. And in this game, you lost one way and made mistakes last game against the exact same team, and then you come out and you do the exact same thing. That to me, and for it to have the same exact feel as the last loss, that to me is why it feels like this team is dead, because it felt like there's never a response to any of the issues right now. I mean, in the first quarter, it was the same thing. It was, you're attacking Anthony Davis. It's like, oh, Anthony Davis got switched on to Malik Monk. Okay, let's give the ball to Monk, and he'll attack Anthony Davis. Oh, he's on DeMar DeRozan. DeMar's going to dribble around for a bit, right? That's obviously not a good game plan, and they even talked about it on the broadcast. Like, maybe the Kings will come out of this timeout with a different game plan because it didn't work last game and it didn't work at the start of this game. Did they? No. And another game with, it says here only 13 turnovers. I don't know. It felt like more. At least the Kings actually got some offensive rebounds themselves with 11. Like, after that first offensive rebound in the first minute, which was obviously frustrating, they did turn around and only allowed 9, but obviously they then allowed one in the biggest moment. And it just felt like the offense didn't have any flow and wasn't doing anything with like a purpose to me that's wild because obviously that the skill in the lineup isn't a problem. When you have Sabonis, DeRozan, Monk, and Fox, you have so much skill. And so for the Kings to then continuously go at Anthony Davis, you would think the Kings would be built in a way to constantly go away from him. And when you get Anthony Davis switched on to someone, go park that guy in the corner or, go away from him because, oh no, he's switched on to Malik Monk. Well, guess what? You have De'Aaron Fox on the other side of the court. So go let him do something. But the offense just feels out of sorts, like they don't know what they want to do. And I said this before, but I don't think Monk is the answer in the starting lineup because you really don't need Monk's talent in the starting lineup. And the fit just doesn't make sense with this lineup. And so then when you aren't dominating offensively, then it gets obviously bad on the defensive end. And I kind of feel like it's one of those moments where you have all these different guys that do want the ball in their hands in one lineup, and it's like everyone wants the ball, and so it's kind of like you don't know where the ball should go. Like DeMar, he didn't take a shot for a very long time, and so it's just kind of like, well, why is he out there then? And the Kings couldn't make a three because DeMar's not out there for his 3-point spacing, even though he did make one in this game, 1 out of 2 from 3. As Keegan was firing from 3, but he couldn't make one early on. And so it just, this starting lineup is not it. There are going to be times when the offense is flowing with this starting lineup, and it's going to look amazing, like it did kind of early on. But then in the games where it isn't flowing, it's really bad. But Keon, he did come in and gave some energy, got a steal, got a dunk, got called for a couple questionable fouls after getting hit somewhere you don't want to get hit. But I feel like the energy kind of upped a little bit. DeMar had that transition dunk, which it was always surprising with him because he's a very capable dunker, but it's still surprising when he does it and does it with so much force. And I thought DeMar actually was good defensively in the first quarter, like active in the passing lanes, not getting beat. And Herter came in and gave good minutes, and he was really good defensively. He came in, and what I love to see was how quick he was on a rotation. When LeBron had a mismatch, Herter was right there, forced a turnover. He also got a strip from behind, and both of those moments, both him with the quick rotation and the strip from behind, both led to transition opportunities. He hit a floater. And then later in the quarter, when Fox comes back in to play with that bench unit, Fox got it going. And that's the second game in a row that Fox has looked much better offensively with the bench unit than he did with the starting unit. And so that, again, I feel like is indicative of problems with this starting lineup. And obviously at the end of that quarter, Anthony Davis being out helped Fox get it going. I'm not going to act like it didn't, but I still think the kind of like there's too many cooks in the kitchen thing with the starting lineup is affecting everyone. So Fox is having a little more success when he is the focal point because he didn't take a lot of shots in the first half. He was nearly perfect, but he just didn't take a lot of shots. He only shot 17 times in this game and scored 31 points, 12 for 17. That's great efficiency, but we needed to get him the ball more. Keegan was having trouble guarding LeBron this time, and he got in foul trouble, and LeBron he was cooking him. No. I mean, it was tough. It's kind of tough to get mad at that when it's LeBron James. And early on, I mean, like Keegan, when he got switched onto AD, he was fighting. When he was on LeBron, he's putting up a fight, and like there were times where he forced a miss, and then like the rest of the team wouldn't rebound. So it's like, what was that great defensive effort from Keegan? Isaac Jones got the center minutes in this game, the backup center minutes, which we like to see. And he got all 11 of them, which is all I was asking for. Just give somebody, preferably Isaac Jones, all of the backup center minutes. So it seemed like Mike Brown probably liked what he saw from Isaac in his first stint. And so he got back out there in the second half. But we also saw the return of Trey Lyles, which helped with the depth, although It just meant we had to see Trey Lyles guarding LeBron James, which was not fun. Some of that had to do with the Keegan Murray foul trouble, so I get it. But also, isn't this what you brought Jay Crowder in for when LeBron's talking a bunch of shit and you have Trey Lyles out there guarding him? Isn't that what we brought in Jay Crowder for? But Lyles did make some good effort plays to keep balls alive, get offensive rebounds. And then the Kings finally started to hit some threes in that second quarter. I think Monk hit one, Herter hit one. So the Kings offense got going a bit, and I thought Fox's playmaking was really good. Fox just had a very good all-around game offensively and really was just carrying the Kings to being in this game. And that continued in the third quarter. It was a carry job from him, and the rest of the offense just looked lost. Monk and DeRozan having bad games, and the offense just not being decisive enough. And that's a problem DeRozan has had, but it also was everyone else on offense as well, especially in transition. There were multiple transition moments that didn't even involve DeRozan where there would be someone open, and just for some reason, guys are just holding on to the ball. And I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what could have been going through their heads. But yeah, there's just not a whole lot of purpose offensively from anyone outside of Fox. And then Keegan picked up his fourth foul. We had to go with Trey Lyles against LeBron, which is not fun. But DeRozan hit a three. Kings went up two. So, like, it again, just like the last game, it felt like the Kings were playing really poorly. And you look up and the Kings are ahead. And that just tells you again about how bad this Lakers team is. Two sorry teams going at it with kind of similar problems when you think about it. I thought there were some very questionable calls once the Kings went up too. Some very questionable or no calls that were missed there. So that was rough for momentum. But again, do I really have any faith that the Kings would have capitalized if they were given those calls? No, not really. Sabonis kind of started carrying the Kings towards the end of the third quarter. He had some great defense out on the perimeter on Austin Reeves. Again, people always just try to take Sabonis on the perimeter. It normally doesn't end well for them. Then he made a great pass into Herter, had a couple of really nice finishes, was running the floor. So I was like, okay, someone else outside of Fox showing up here. And Fox took over late. He was very hot, keeping the Kings in it. But what was really worrying about the end of the third quarter was you had Isaac Jones on Anthony Davis and Trey Lyles on LeBron James. So Sabonis is out when Sabonis and Keegan are both out when both of those guys are in. It didn't go that badly, so it was kind of surprising. And then at the start of the fourth, you had Lyles hitting a three, which was good to see. Good exit screen by Kevin Herter. But we've seen this before. LeBron James just hitting every jump shot. Again, Trey Lyles, not the solution there. Then there was that play in transition where the Lakers had two shooters on the perimeter in transition. The Kings, everyone just sank back into the paint. Two shooters sitting on the perimeter and everyone goes to the paint. And Keon's late on the contest. He got called for a foul. Kings challenged it. It wasn't actually a foul. That's not really the point. It's you're leaving two shooters open and there's nobody that you need to be sagging back into the paint for. Just nobody going to the shooter in transition. But the Kings did get away with it. And then the Kings got something going. Keegan hit a three. DeRozan in transition. Quick decision. That's what we want to see. Him just get into his shot quickly. Don't sit on the ball forever. He got into a shot quickly, knocked it down. And then he proceeded to allow Cam Reddish to get an offensive rebound and get an and one. So pretty much gave it right back. And then they had two straight possessions of the Lakers running pick and roll with Anthony Davis. And, Sabonis staying in front. But then either recovering too early, trying to get back to Anthony Davis, or it was just a bad job by the guard, or it was Keegan on one play. I can't remember who it was on the other one. It wasn't Keegan both times. But them not getting back in front of the guard. And I do think that it's a little bit on both players. One, the perimeter player has to fight harder to get back in front of their guy and has to move quicker because Sabonis cannot stay in front forever. You can't have two on the ball in this situation forever. But then also you don't want Sabonis to just give him an open lane to the rim. But at some point, Sabonis has to recover to Anthony Davis because your focal point defensively is either LeBron or Anthony Davis. you're gonna have to live with what D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves are gonna do. And so the guards and the perimeter players, the wings, have to do a better job of getting back in front on this like pick and pop action. So that happened 2 straight times, and Mike Brown calls a timeout. And from that timeout, Keegan missed an open three. Monk took a bad three after the Kings got a stop. You know, they were down 6. They get a stop. Monk comes up the court, just chucks a long three. And it's just like, you have to get Fox a touch there. But then they do get Fox a touch, and Monk misses an open three anyways. So, like, Fox, he was getting on the ball, but the Lakers were taking the ball out of his hands when he got inside, as they should, because then his passing was great. He was finding open players, and they just couldn't knock him down. And Fox did free himself up a bit, hit a three, hit a floater. And then the Kings got that steal with Monk, who would have had an easy dunk, and LeBron fouls him. And because it was a loose ball foul, even though you couldn't say that Monk was taking a dribble there, it should have been a clear path foul. And they called it a loose ball foul. So that was disappointing. And Fox missed a wide open three on that same possession. So Lakers got kind of bailed out there. But then Rui missed an open three. Sabonis got an and one. So they were within 2. And then you have the Lakers losing it out of bounds, refs missing the call, and the whole Monk fouling for no reason, Kings not getting the rebound, and it was over from there. Fox misses the three. I just don't know where this team goes from here, because it seems like they've tried everything at this point, and it's just not working. And it feels like, you know, Mike Brown has tried everything he can. I really don't blame Mike Brown. I know some people will, because people love to blame the coach, but I just don't in this situation at all. And you can also blame the front office, but the front office built a team that shouldn't be 13-16, and yet they are. So at some point, you do have to look at the players and say they're just not performing well enough. And you could say, well, we just shot poorly from 3. We shot better than the Lakers. We shot 10 for 37, and that was better than the Lakers' 9 for 35. And the thing is, early in the season, when it was just 3-point shooting, it felt like it was just 3-point shooting. It felt like that was the main issue. And it was like, at some point, we're going to shoot better. And we did. But the problem is the wins then didn't come, because then there were new issues. I mean, that kind of goes along with the Kings just find a way to lose close games. They find new ways to lose. It's like they're shooting well from 3 this time. Well, they're going to allow a bunch of offensive rebounds. They're going to turn the ball over. If they aren't shooting well from 3, well, that's just one way you can lose. It's like, oh, Fox finally goes for 31 after he'd been having a really rough month. And then you have Monk going 3 for 14 and 1 for 8 from 3 for 7 points. And so there's not one thing that you can say like, well, if they just do this, they'll be better. Because, well, if they just shoot better from 3, something else is going to become a problem. And so it just feels like this team needs a move. I mean, I'm sure we've all heard about the report that Fox and Rich Paul met with the Kings. He did not request a trade, right? He's just looking at the future of this team. And so the Kings either have to make a move right now. Like, this team does not seem like it's able to survive until the trade deadline. Maybe they'll pick it up here a little bit, and they will be able to. But it seems like we need a move now, or you just sadly do have to blow it up at some point. Because, I mean, if you're not a top 10, at least a top 10 team in the West with this roster, then there's just no point to keep going. So they have, like, this roster has such a short period of time to figure this out, to not get blown up. And I'll probably make a video soon on the entire situation and what could happen if the Kings do go with the blow it up approach, because I've already made a video on the Kings trade targets. So I've already talked about kind of that approach, like if they want to go in with this roster, who they should target. But like, what if it doesn't go well? But generally, the Kings are not in a bad spot. Like, very generally, the Kings could be in a way worse spot, because they have, if they do want to go the blow it up approach, they have very valuable players that they could get a lot of assets back for. Still have most of their picks, right? So it's like, at least with the position we're in, it doesn't feel like we're trapped. But it's sad that we've come to this position just 29 games into the season where we do have to talk about that option. And we can talk about the individual performances from this game a little bit, because this game, not the best example of great individual performances, but the Kings, they got a lot of players that would be very valuable to other teams if they go that route. Sabonis, one of his least efficient games of the season, 9 for 19, 0 for 2 from 3, 1 for 3 from the free throw line. For 19 points, 19 rebounds, almost got that big beef, 20 rebounds, and the 5 assists. You don't normally see Sabonis leading the team in shots. That's just not normal, especially if he's not doing it efficiently. And so that kind of just shows how desperate the Kings were for offense, because Sabonis is not a number one guy, never has been, never will be. He's the perfect complementary guy. And so if he's leading your team in shots, it's usually not a good sign. Sometimes it's because you're playing like the smallest team ever and he's just dunking on everyone. But usually it's not a good sign, and it wasn't here. DeRozan, he's had like 3 bad games in a row now, 4 for 10 from the field, and just 12 points. And he had a good first quarter defensively and then fell off after that. It honestly wasn't his worst defensive performance of the season, though. It was the offensive end where, again, he just kind of looked lost with everyone else. Like, didn't know whether to take things into his own hands or move the ball. And so things just got a little sticky on offense. Keegan, only 27 minutes because of foul trouble and because Braun was just abusing him. He had looks from 3, only went 2 for 7. Did have one nice take to the rim, but then also on another one just kind of tried to do the barrel into a guy and throw it up again and got blocked by Anthony Davis. Fox, 12 for 17 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, 4 for 4 from the free throw line. He was amazing offensively, had some bad turnovers, and didn't perform at the very, very end. But for the most part, this was, an amazing game from him, and he was trying to carry this team. 31 points, 7 assists. Coulda, shoulda, woulda had more assists if his teammates could knock down some open shots. And then Monk, who I already said, 3 for 14, 1 for 8 from 3. He had 5 turnovers, some brutal ones, trying to throw a full court pass to a 6'3" De'Aaron Fox. That's just, not a great option. He did have the 8 assists. He's always going to get his assists in the pick and roll, and we got some offense from that, but still a rough game from him for only 7 points. And then the bench, we went with a 9-man rotation with Trey Lyles back. Lyles getting 17 minutes, knocking down a 3, and making some things happen rebounding-wise. Just wish he could have done that on the last possession. I don't know whose fault it was. I would have to go back and look. I feel like it was probably Lyles' fault, but it was between Lyles and Keegan for not crashing in to get that rebound. You had Isaac Jones play 11 minutes and score 3 points, get 3 rebounds. I thought it was a solid game. A few mistakes, but overall a solid game. Like he came down with a rebound, wasn't strong with it, and turned it over. But I'm glad that didn't, Mike Brown didn't see that and immediately sub him, and they actually gave him all 11 minutes. Herter, 4 for 10 is solid, but then 1 for 7 from 3. So again, we're doing it again. I'm doing it again. Herter had a really good game, doing everything else other than shooting the 3. I thought his rotations were on point more than really anybody on the Kings. He hit some shots inside, was penetrating the defense, but 1 for 7 from 3. And that's kind of been the story all season. And then Keon made some things happen defensively like he always does with his 2 steals. The 1 3 he hit, he only went 1 for 4 from 3, but it was an off the dribble, taking a screen and then sidestepping 4-3. And I was like, okay, that's something we haven't really seen from Keon a whole lot. So I was like, okay, that's something. And that's why I want him to shoot more. I know he only went 1 for 4, but I thought he was shooting the right shots in this game, making an impact both offensively and defensively. Probably should have played more than 14 minutes. I know that has to do with size. I think it was the Lakers. Were they the team that he got the DNP against at the start of the season? Because of the size? It might have been. I can't remember. But it's kind of the same situation here. But at least he's not getting the DNP this time. So that's good. But I don't know where the Kings go from here. Obviously, I don't know what trades are available for them to do. But you never want to see your team blow it up when you have good players on the team, which the Kings do. But at the end of the day, if you're stuck, especially in 11th or 12th in the Western Conference, like that is the worst spot to be in. And so if you have to blow it up, then you have to blow it up. And if you sell high on Fox, who's 27 years old, and Sabonis, who's like 28, I think, like you can get value for these guys. So it's just down to the front office to make a decision. And it's kind of the reason I'm glad that Fox is putting pressure on them, because it's like if he didn't, then would we just be stuck in the middle forever? But if there's a good option that can come in and make an impact and turn things around, then I absolutely want to explore that option. But we'll see what happens. The Kings' next game is tomorrow against the Pacers. Very ironic. Very ironic. Two teams that made a trade. Very controversial trade. Both had one good season, and both kind of suck now. Of course, it's come to this point, and we are playing the Pacers. Although the Pacers are coming in on a 3-game win streak, 4 out of the last 5, but it is kind of hilarious to me that, like, where both of these teams are at. They both made that trade. They both then had success, and they both made trades that, the Kings getting DeRozan, the Pacers getting Siakam. And then now, here they sit, Kings at, what are they, 13 and 16, and the Pacers at 13 and 15. The Kings, they just need to be able to come out with energy in this game, somehow manufacture some energy. I mean, you're at home, and it feels like they cannot get the right energy. Just come out with some energy, come out and give Kings fans a reason to get hyped, because it's not been good lately. The vibe has not been one of having fun, watching some cool basketball. It's just like, wow, that was a cool dunk, but I know we're going to blow it in the end anyways. So just come out with some energy. Give me something. Anyways, that is it for this episode of the Roll Report. As always, shout out to the members of this channel, No Rain and Joe Mama, for the support. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.